Welcome everyone to the September meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Association. To start, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item of business is to approve the agenda of our business. So
I'll move approval.
And I will second. It's been first and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. Item 2, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone here at this time that would like to say something on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move forward to item 3, which is the approval of our August 15th, 2019 meeting minutes. And I will make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, motion carries. Report out on closed session.
The board did meet in closed session to confer with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation with regard to the ACOM change request, and no action was taken.
Okay, thank you. Item 5, review of monthly and year-to-date revenue and expenses.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, member of the board. The cash position report for this month is for July 2019. We'll start with 870. The starting position for 870 was approximately $7.4 million. July, as you know from past experience now, is mostly a month of accruals, and we have most of our consultants trained to get invoices in early, so there's not a lot of activity. It's basically just negative entries that are placing revenues and expenses into the appropriate fiscal year. So for 870 in the month of July, there was a negative $255,000 revenue, and most of that was the third installment of the assessment, which accrued back to June 30th of the previous fiscal year. On the expense side, primary activity was the O&M distributions, and that was the third installment. And if it looks a little high, that reflects the fact that we wait till the third installment to apportion the unsecured roll assessment and any corrections to that roll. So there's a positive and a minus, and the net was 116 to all three agencies. In Fund 871, the starting balance was $1.4 million negative, and the primary activity for the month was some staff time and the accrual of the AECOM payment estimate 22, which only was recently settled, but we had to do an accounting entry because it was so large. So that's a negative 1.6 or $1.7 million entry, and that put 871 in the positive for July at $259,000. The state advanced fund account currently has a balance of $8.1 million, bringing the agency's cash position for July to $15.6 million. Because we finished all the accruals, we're going to finish the statement of cost for the last quarter, which ended June 30th. That will be approximately $2 million. We've agreed on the final amount for the North Area Retention construction amount, and that'll be coming in, and that'll be about $1.6 million. And Paul has the planting project underway on the offset area. You'll be considering a drainage improvement project at this meeting, and so we'll probably start to see the 257 fund shift over to 871 as we go through those processes and do true-ups. And that ends the report for July. If you don't have any questions, or if you do, I'll answer the questions. But if you don't, I'd like to turn it over to Roberta to talk about a couple of things coming up from finance.
Okay, Roberta.
Good morning. I just wanted to give you a couple of updates. One, we've got auditors coming next month, so we're closing the books on for the city and for WSAFCA, we should be back probably in November with a final report. I'm actually out at a conference during your next meeting. But if we have it done in time, Becky can bring it back to you. At that point, we would go over the CAFR, the final ending numbers. We do a full update for fiscal year 18-19, talking about, balance sheet and some of the things that we have mentioned that we bring forward to you. Also, we are in a time right now where we've got a really great interest rate environment, and so we've been looking at ways we can save money and what we can do with that and how we can take advantage of it. One of the things that was brought up is the 2011 WSAFCA bonds are able to be advance refunded now at approximately $2.6 million savings over the remaining life of the bonds. At 16%, over 16% net present value savings, it's about $120,000 a year. We would look at doing the same term, basically just lowering our interest rate and saving some money. So that is something that, unless you have objections to that, we'd like to look into. And we would probably work very quickly to avoid interest rates rising. And in that case, we'd probably bring back some more information in October and documents for your approval in November. So that is just something we wanted to run by you.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yep. I think get her done.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions on? Okay. Move on to consent agenda. We got 3 items, and I have a comment or suggestion I want to make on item 8, if possible. I don't know if I need to withdraw from consent or just handle it as is, and that's that you're seeking the appointment of the WSAFCA General Manager, which is Greg Fabian, or Flood Protection Manager, as the interim WSAFCA General Manager and Secretary. I'm okay with that for a limited period of time. I think we need to kind of vet this out a little more than just, going to the default of having Greg take over the General Manager's position. We have a lot of agreements between WSAFCA and the city, and in some of them, they specifically point out the General Manager and his role to consult with the city on various things. And we've had a structure in place. I understand that structure is changing, but I'd like to have a little more input and discussions on what that General Manager's position is going to be going out. So I would like to consider appointing the WSAFCA Flood Protection Manager for a period of till the next meeting, 30 days from now, and then we can bring this up again and see if we have another alternative or we want to continue with that situation. So I would make that recommendation or motion on number 8, that he be appointed for a period of till our next October meeting.
I think we need someone in that role. So if it's an interim and then a second interim period, it's just that we need someone in that role.
Right.
And right now we don't have anyone. So I think the term interim means for a short period of time until something's resolved. So I don't know that anyway.
Well,
I think we're getting counsel.
Yeah, if you want to actually put a specific time limit on it, then I think you pull 8 from the consent agenda and deal with it as a separate item. Or if you want to just leave it as interim, you can leave it on the consent.
I would like to do that then.
Okay.
So
pull from the consent agenda.
If we pull item 8, then I'll entertain a motion for consent items 6 and 7.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, consent items carry. And then on item 8, I would move that we appoint the WSAFCA Flood Protection Manager as the interim WSAFCA General Manager through our next meeting held in October. And that's a motion?
Okay, I'll second that.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 9, WSAFCA project updates.
Thank you, Chair Ramos. I have a few updates for your, to bring you up to speed, and then I'm going to walk through some, a PowerPoint presentation to kind of let you see what's happening in the floodplain restoration project. I'm happy to report that after many months, DWR has accepted the land net, the cadastral unit has accepted the land net for the Southport project. We still have some minor acquisition cleanup to do, but overall they agreed to all the boundaries, and so that sets the stage for a record of survey and ultimately conveyance of property rights to the state. I'd like to make a correction to your flood program update. The Board of Senior Consultants will not be coming in September. They will be coming in December. December 10th and 11th are the dates that we're looking at presently. Primarily because some of the final reports on the Southport project are not completed, and we want to make sure that they have a full paper documentation before they, so that they can close out the project. The project, also the Southport project, was submitted to the Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure. This was an effort that was largely led by Mark Zorro. This is kind of like a lead for infrastructure, and we have high hopes that this is going to score very well through their process. It helps us with our cost share with the state, and so I believe it's a 5% bump we get from the state by having a certain level, a certain category of ISI approval.
And that's retroactive for the project?
They're going to look at it through the whole project.
Wow.
Yeah, it's project-wide.
That's fantastic. Let's hope we're successful.
I want to remind you all that Flood Preparedness Week is coming up, the week of October 10th, I believe, October 14th through the 20th. Our event, we have an event that's scheduled at Bridgeway Island School at 10 o'clock in the morning on the, I think it's on the 15th. So that's being handled, largely being handled through the public relations group on the 3rd floor. On the federal project, there's some good news and some, we're hopeful, but the Senate Appropriations Committee approved the Energy and Water Development Act, or Development budget. It pluses up quite a few categories. It's not quite as specific to kind of show their cards, but they have a $7 billion work plan. The Senate plussed up the budget by about, the 2020 request by $2.7 billion. So there's a significant amount of money that the Army Corps of Engineers can program into the work plan, and so we'll have to wait and see. As you know, I believe Greg is still planning to go back to see if there's some way to remind them that we'd like to be in the 2020 work plan. I think that's coming up. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what's happening at Southport. This is what it looks like presently. This is just a week ago when I flew down to the Flood Management Association conference. So this is the north area inlet, outlet. There's the southwest. And there's the southeast inlet, outlet. What I'm trying to show here, if you look in the picture, you'll see that it's pretty dark inside those channels. The fact remains that when the river level comes up above 8.5, those channels start filling up with water. So it's not a bad thing. We like water in the channels, but it has been a little bit of a challenge in some of the part of the project because of all the siltation we had. I'm going to walk you through some of that. Here's kind of a picture of what it looked like earlier this year. You can still see there's water, there's stuff growing algae and whatnot, as well as still providing a lot of nice habitat. So there's about at least 5 feet of deposition that happened, created this really nice sandy beach, and it separated the offset area, the channels, from the actual river. So this is something that we're working on improving, bringing that back to design, to the design that was intended. So just kind of go through some of the schedule of work. They've done a lot of preparation in July and August. In September, we've had irrigation plans submitted and approved, planting plans submitted and approved. We see a lot of site preparation going on. I'm going to walk you through some more of that. Plant deliveries began in earnest last week, as well as irrigation. So let's just see what's going on. So first of all, one of the things you're going to notice out there, and you may get questions about, we did install what's called large woody material. The whole idea here is to add some roughage, as well as habitat for fish when the offset area fills up with water. These are placed right along the low flow channel and away from the O&M corridor. So they are all brought in from an orchard, I believe in Woodland. So the other part of site preparation that's been going on, they've been making furrows for the plantings, and then the drip line will follow the furrows. You can see, as I mentioned in closed session, it really is starting to look like a farm. And once the plants go in, it'll look not like a uniform farm, as you mentioned, but like a forested farm. So that's going to start happening really soon. Hello. Like I said, plant delivery happened last week. So what happens during plant delivery is we have GEI out there along with the restoration contractor to count all the plants, to look at their health, evaluate them, and then accept them. Because once the contractor accepts them, they're on the hook to keep them alive for the next 5 years. Oops. So we had this encounter of a known invasive species. This was removed from the project last Saturday. So an abandoned car in the O&M corridor. If you've been out there, you knew that we had some erosion repairs that we need to deal with. This is in the north offset area. The subcontractor to River Partners, Diamond D, is flattening these slopes. He's taking out the rills. And so that new sloping, when it used to be, as designed, it was at 3-to-1, now it's going to be 5-to-1, and we're hoping that that will minimize some of the erosion. This will also all be planted before the November season. And now, so this is just this week. Remember I talked to you about how much siltation, how much deposition was over there that cut off the low flow channel from the river. This picture gives you an idea. You can see, that's a almost 6-foot tall gentleman that they're excavating down to that level to make sure that the low flow channel is reestablished. And you can see on the right-hand side, once you get back down to the correct elevation, at elevation 7, we started getting water just coming up like a small boil. We're 25 feet from the river at this point. So just to kind of give you an idea what the underlying sediment is and how there's still a lot of seepage, it's pretty obvious. So the remainder of this month, we're going to start seeing irrigation being installed. The fish screens should be placed in the river. They're supposed to be arriving next week. We're working through permit requirements with the Department of Fish and Wildlife. There's a lot of flags being installed right now to kind of differentiate the different plant communities between the emergent marsh versus the different forested areas. And then after that, it'll be plant and weed maintenance until we're able to close up for the season.
Thanks.
That's my report.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, looks good.
Just a few, Paul. You mentioned 5-year maintenance or whatever with the contractor. Is the irrigation, is that a permanent thing, or once the vegetation's established, are they on their own at some point?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we anticipate that they will be placing and removing irrigation pieces for the next 3 years, maybe 4. After that, I think it'll probably be running on its own. They probably won't be having to do that as much. But they are going to pull the fish screens and the pumps every year. They'll be reinserted once the rainy season is over, once they're necessary.
Okay. And then that, the channel getting clogged like that, that's going to happen again.
We'll see.
So, yeah, this, I mean, we know the barge canal and what it looks like. You know, what is there a requirement that we're going to have to, you know, eventually it's whatever happens on a natural basis, huh? Okay.
That's right. So our intention here is a certain amount of adaptive management. So we're only clearing out the channel. You know, we're not removing all the deposition, so there still will be a lot of areas that will remain under 5 feet of deposition. But we want to see how it performs when the channels are all cleaned out and its second year and it's planted. So all of those things, we're kind of looking to see what happens.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. We're on to director's comments, and I don't have any either, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.